troublemaker. I've been a late night player. I've been broke as a joke. I've been a money maker. I've been a record breaker, taking credit as an educator. I've been known to spit the flows and make it shaky, shaky thing. Pop and lock and stop and let it hang. Watch us as we drop this hip hop, it's like it stings. We make a whole room drop and everybody sing. We want the funk. We gotta have that funk. We kick it old school. We think we're so cool. We take it back to the past. We gonna act a fool. Up jumps the middle finger, make my.
Welcome to Sports Buzz, the Fanatical View. I am your host, Scott D. Lewis, here live in studio Comcast, Cable Channel 23, Danbury, Connecticut, on this sweltering June 27th, as we end the month of June in a heat wave. It's supposed to be a rainy flood watch heat wave, but last time I checked, it needed to rain for there to be flooding, and there hasn't been rain, just humidity. Here's a news flash: the weathermen don't know what they're talking about.
Well, no, I said earlier that it was pouring in the Milford. So.
Oh, little spot showers here and there. All right, well, our man, Mr. Bob Broad Jr. is here, tending to his microphone, which he may have lost, so we don't know if you can hear him.
On the same side as Scott.
A little technical difficulties. All right, no, good, yes, maybe so. Well, I will mumble away. Bob, of course, is the producer of Spotlight On. His show can be seen on Tuesdays at 9 o'clock, Wednesdays at 12. Expose Cinema is our show by the director, Mr. Mike Toohey, in studio running things, trying to figure out Bob's microphone. Fridays at 9 and Wednesdays at 1 is his show. And of course, Danbury Westerners Roundup is right following us at 6:30 this evening, so keep your channel tuned. And then Fridays re-airs at 1:30. So those shows. As we get into it, of course, you see I am decked out in Bruins gear as I pop my microphone. Things have gone haywire fast. I hope that didn't ruin things for me.
That's just why it's called live.
So we, you know how we do here. We represent our team when they win and when they lose. Of course, I was anticipating coming in talking about a great Bruins series and their series with the Blackhawks. I had hoped for a better result where they would be coming out victorious, raising the cup for the second time in a couple of years, but that did not happen. And that was only the tip of the iceberg for bad, negative stories coming out of the Boston sports scene this week.
Yes, it is. It's not very nice at all.
Not very nice at all. Do we have you mic'd up?
Yes, well, yeah, I'm up and working now.
Oh, you are working. Okay, so let's say hello to Bob.
Okay, how are you, Scott?
I'm doing good. Glad to hear that you're...
My condolences on the Bruins.
It was a tough series there, Bob. It looked good. I had two games to one lead early in the series, but we knew, and I knew all along, that the Blackhawks were a great team, loaded with players who had won the Cup a few years back, so you knew they had that experience, and also a team that had the hot start, 24 straight victories this year to start the season, our undefeated streak it was, and they were the number one team in the league in this lockout shortened season.
Right.
So you knew they were good. You knew they had the wherewithal to come from behind in series as they rallied from being 3 games down to 1 against the Detroit Red Wings earlier in the playoffs. They knocked off the defending champs, the LA Kings.
Yeah.
So you knew they were great. The series was nip and tuck all the way. 3 overtime games.
Right.
Close, thrilling efforts throughout. If you take away one empty net goal that was scored, it was really only a 1-goal difference in the 6-game series. It looked for a while on Monday night that we'd be faced with a classic Game 7 back in Chicago as the Bruins were up 2-1 in the third period with about 3 minutes left. They took a bad penalty with 5 minutes left, which could have been their undoing, even though the Blackhawks didn't score on that. But there was a lot of power play opportunities for the Bruins and penalties as well that they had to defend. So their special teams were on the ice quite a bit, and I think ultimately that may have played a part in the fatigue factor in that final frantic minute and a half when the Blackhawks pulled their goalie and had the man advantage, scored rather quickly there once they did pull their goalie to tie it in stunning fashion, as the Bruins fans were just aghast at the situation, faced with overtime, another possible overtime situation. But lo and behold, 17 seconds
Yes.
later, Bob, the rug pulled from
out,
out
yes.
underneath the Bruins and their fans. The Boston Strong mantra, which had been there throughout the postseason, suddenly they were looking smack dab in the face of a exit from the postseason instead of a Game 7, which would have been a thriller. I mean, the series was a thriller throughout. And there we saw right there that photo of Patrice Bergeron, Bob.
Yeah.
I mean, how about the news of him, the injuries he played through?
Oh, yeah.
Of course, during this postseason, they wouldn't say what he had going on. We knew he came out in Game 5, was unable to go in the second period and the third period. It was revealed later he had a broken rib, torn cartilage. He dislocated his shoulder, and he played that Game 6 with a punctured lung. He's a hockey player.
Yeah, definitely.
So I guess he kept playing. Unbelievable effort by him to play through those kind of injuries. This is what hockey players do.
Yes, they do.
Yager, who was so close to getting goals in the series,
he was
unbelievable. He got his bell rung. He was not really effective in that Game 6. That hurt their chances of winning, but still, all in all, they were right there. They had plenty of opportunities in the first period of this game, and they only were up 1-0. They gave up a shorthanded goal to Taves, who had been quiet throughout. He also was injured in Game 5, came out in the second period, but he was back on the ice for Game 6, and he came away with a breakaway on a big turnover by Zdeno Chara, the captain, who really had a tough series when it came down to it. He was on the ice for many of these final goals that took place over the last 3 games of the series. So that was difficult. He had a turnover in the blue line center ice situation. Taves came down for a breakaway. And the one thing I noticed, the Blackhawks decided to go 5-hole in Game 6. You hadn't seen that throughout the postseason. Maybe they finally saw something that they wanted to try on Tuukka Rask, who had a great series. But they did go 5-hole, and he got a 5-hole goal right there to tie it at 1-1. And on the late goals, they went to tie it at 2-2. That was a 5-hole rebound attempt, or the goal there was another 5-hole situation. The final goal came off, another deflection. The puck bounced the Blackhawks' way throughout the series. Anytime the Bruins had an open net where it looked like they were going to get a goal, the puck bounced off a stick funny, went away from net. They didn't get the goal. And the Blackhawks, meanwhile, were getting double deflection goals. They were getting goals where Bruins defenders' sticks were breaking and the deflections were going right to a Blackhawk player for a goal. They were getting misdirections. There was a goal where they shot off the side of the net from behind. It bounced away from Chara right to a Blackhawk player for an easy goal. These were the things that were happening throughout the series. They were getting the hockey gods' bounces, as it were, and they came up with the cup, their second in 4 years. So the Blackhawks, after winning a few years back, bowing out in the first round the last 2 years after hoisting the cup, this time they pull it all together, and they give hockey fans, and the ratings were thrilling.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, really high ratings. The original 6 matchup, I think, drew a lot of people in. Plus, early in the playoffs, you had the Bruins thrilling series in an original 6 matchup against the Toronto Maple Leafs. That started to ratchet up attention to the league. In the second round, they were faced with your Rangers.
Yes, they were.
And the Blackhawks were faced up with the Red Wings, 2 original 6 matchups in those 2 playoff series. So, really the intensity level in the NHL playoffs was at an all-time high. Last week I talked about it, going back and forth between basketball and hockey. I didn't really think there was much of a comparison. I mean, it was a letdown when you went to a basketball game with all their whistles, all their timeouts, all their fouls, all that stuff, poor play, turnovers, all this stuff. Hockey was displaying high level of skill throughout, end-to-end action, no whistles, a lot of no stoppage in time, play just running on and on and on, where you're on the edge of your seat watching what's going on. Close games, overtime games, historic matchups between these teams, old rivalries renewed. So it was a great display. And you think about what could have been. The lockout It looked like it was dooming the season.
Yeah, it was
Bob.
like
we didn't even know if we were going to
have
a season.
anything.
I mean, for a while, it looked quite dicey, like there
Right.
would be no season at all. But they pulled it together at the final minute, got it up and running, a short season, and there was a lot of drama throughout the regular season. The Blackhawks with their start to the season, the Penguins with their win streak that almost broke a record. So you had big winning streaks. You had teams fighting to get in. The Red Wings, historic team. They haven't missed the playoffs in how
Right.
many years? And they had to fight till the final week of the season to secure their spot in the postseason. Your Rangers, Bob, they were a preseason pick to go far, and they had to scrap and claw all season long just to
Yep.
make the playoffs. So there was a lot of things. The Canadians, a rival of the Bruins. I hate the Canadians. They have a ton, but they, out of nowhere, really, because they were not a good team last year.
Right.
They came back roaring strong. They were a number 2 seed this year. So there was a lot of things to like about the NHL this year. My hat's off to the Bruins and their great run this season. They really had a tremendous playoff run. They put it all together. They came up just a little bit short. As I mentioned, it was really a 1-goal differential in this 6-game series. Could have gone either way. You had the overtime games. Anything could have happened. But the Bruins losing was really just the tip of the iceberg for the news out of Boston.
Yeah, Boston does not have.
I was hoping that the other second bad story would have been Doc Rivers bailing on the Celtics and heading to La La Land to go coach the Clip joint.
Yeah.
What does the world come to when a coach would rather coach the Clippers than the Celtics? Bob?
I mean, come on. What would you rather be? Either
Doc, say it isn't so.
So.
I mean, what is the deal with this? But we had, while this Bruins Stanley Cup Finals series was going on, there was 2 lingering stories in the backdrop of Boston going on. It was the rumor mill with the NBA. Would Doc leave? Would he take players with him to the Clippers? And there was a murder investigation taking place involving the Patriots tight end Aaron Hernandez. What was going to happen there? Was he obstructing justice? Was he the prime target of this murder investigation of a man who was found dead just down the road from his mansion up there in Massachusetts? What was the deal? It looked like the police were intimidating him, coming back to his house a couple times to search his house. They were, taking things from the house. They came back a third time. And there was all these rumors of an arrest warrant that was going to be issued, and the arrest never came. And it started to actually turn into the situation with the media being staked out of his house and his lawyer coming out and attacking the media, saying, you guys have had this wrong. My client is being intimidated. There has been no arrest warrant. You're citing this possible arrest coming up, and they have not arrested my client. None of this is happening. They're intimidating him. And then all of a sudden,
today,
bam, here they come with that arrest warrant,
Yep.
and they arrest him bright and early 2 mornings ago, or was it yesterday morning?
yesterday, because
actually?
he was in.
Wednesday morning, they arrest him, take him away. The Patriots promptly cut him before the charges were even announced.
Yeah.
You did not know if this was an arrest for obstruction of justice, if they're going to try to get him down to the station to put more pressure on him to get him to talk. And they cut him. And then by mid-afternoon, he's put before a judge, and the charges are read, and it is murder. Murder is the case that they give him, as Snoop Dogg once famously said in his song. And it's a thug life situation, perhaps. In the last week and a half, with all these rumor mills flying, they start talking, media does, he was a risk from the beginning. Never mind, there had never been any bad stories about Aaron Hernandez since he's been playing for the last 3 years, bursting onto the scene as an explosive talent. He's all smiles with the Patriots, flashing that nice grin. He's got endorsement deals. Looked like he was a good teammate. Players liked hanging out with him. You never heard any negative thing about the guy. I mean, he did have some problems back in college. What a shock. He was a college athlete who smoked marijuana. Big deal. That's not really anything to jump up and down and say this guy's going to be turned into a murderer.
Right.
I mean, unbelievable. And we don't know the details for sure. They have a lot of circumstantial evidence but it is a lot of good circumstantial evidence. And now today they reveal he is being investigated for a double murder charge from a year or so ago, 2011, which could possibly mean he has played a full season with the Patriots
Right.
after being part of a double murder that was left unsolved. And he was never investigated as far as when that took place, a nightclub situation, bad blood, arguments, hanging out with the wrong guys, drive-by shooting. That was the case from 2 years ago that he's now being investigated in, which could possibly link to what took place here.
Right.
Because the guy who was murdered, an acquaintance of his who was actually dating his fiancée, Aaron Hernandez.
Right.
What are you throwing away by doing this?
Besides your
You're,
career.
just signed a 5-year contract extension for $40 million. You're a star athlete for the New England Patriots, one of the most explosive players in the league. You're engaged to be married to the mother of your 8-month-old child. You've got a mansion. You're living large, and yet, you are going to go ahead and throw this all away?
Right.
And maybe he did it because the guy who was killed knew that he was a part of the double murder that took place a couple years ago. This is the storylines that are playing out now as we try to figure this whole scenario out. Could it be that he needed to shut this guy up? He was upset with him apparently for speaking to people that he had, quote, problems with, according to some of the leaked information from the police and what's the case they're building against him. This guy went and spoke to those people, maybe letting them know that Aaron was part of the crew that took down these other guys, double murder. So maybe Hernandez was worried not only that he would go to the police and reveal it, or maybe he was just worried that he was revealing information to these other gang members possibly, and they would come after him. And he needed to shut this guy up. But the guy sent text messages to his sister at approximately 3 a.m. the night he was killed, saying, "You know who I'm with." NFL were the text messages he sent, basically warning his sister, in case anything happens to me, I'm worried for my life right now. I want you to know who I'm with. And she said, yes, I saw who you left the house with. So, there's text messages involved. Of course, as this thing plays out, we'll get more and more information. He had guns at the house. I don't think they have found the murder weapon. They did find a shell casing, I believe they did find, at the car rental property from the car that he rented that the police were looking for all along. And that matches the bullets that were put into the body of the deceased, shot 5 times. The police, when they read the case to the judge, said execution style. So once again, Bob, we have no idea who these athletes we root for are.
Right.
And of course, the Patriot haters are all loving every minute of it. Destroying evidence. That's the Patriot way.
Yeah.
This is tarnishing this whole clean image. And I'd just like to say, I don't even know what is the Patriot way, Bob. Can you tell me?
I don't know.
I've never heard anybody from the Patriots use the term the Patriot way.
What is the Patriot way?
They never come out and say, this is our way, this is what we do. This is a situation made up by the media where they say this is the Patriot way. It's a nice little catchphrase, so people like to latch onto that. Much like, I had a refreshing conversation actually this weekend with a Steeler fan.
Oh, yeah?
And they actually admitted to me that they know that it's mostly the media that creates this image about the Patriots. The Patriots are never anything but respectful to their opponent.
Right.
They don't come out with proclamations and guarantees saying we're going to win, we're the best team. They always come out and say it's going to be a tough game. The opponent is up to the task. We know we have our work cut out for us. They're a great opponent. These are always the thing you hear from the Patriots. Yet Patriot haters like to say they're smug, they're arrogant, they think they're great. Show me the quotes. Show me the lines from the Patriots that back that story. They're not there. So, you just hate the Patriots because they have won, and they have won big, and they are one of the great franchises in the history of the NFL. And that's your right to hate them, and that's fine. But I would like to point out the Patriot way is to cut the player once he gets involved in something like this, instead of letting him be the face of your franchise Ray Lewis comes to mind.
Oh, yeah.
And he turns out to be the face of the NFL.
Right.
The NFL backed him all the way. We all know Ray Lewis was involved in a murder.
Mm-hmm.
People were murdered at the hands of Ray's, posse.
But
I lived in Atlanta when this took place. I know that this is what went down. And Ray Lewis knows because he paid the victims
Right.
large sums of money in a civil case to ease their pain for the murder that took place. Other teams like the Jets, like the Giants, like the Cowboys, who
Oh,
have a player on their roster right now still who was in a vehicular homicide due to drunk driving of a teammate last year. That player is still on the Cowboys roster.
Oh, yeah.
Jets, they've had players who played the same week that they got arrested for DWI. DUI.
Hey, my
no
Giant-
big deal. Let the legal system handle it. He's our player. We'll let him play.
My Giants have had gone through it.
Giants, the same thing. We're not talking about a murder, but still, when legalities go down, you'd like to see some of these teams at least suspend the player for a couple weeks.
Right.
Not let them play that week. The Patriots, and if you want to use that term, the Patriot way,
Yeah.
is to cut the player before they even announce what the charge is. It could have been obstruction of justice for all they knew.
Right.
And he could become a free man shortly after and be able to play the season. But no, they see this whole thing going down. They say someone was murdered. A player on our team was involved in this case. He's now been arrested. We need to cut ties with that guy immediately. And they will move on. And we'll see. Of course, everybody wants to know, is
Tebow going to be his new...
the new tight end
end.
for the Patriots?
Yeah.
I doubt that. Speaking of your Giants, I
Yeah.
think Jake Ballard will be the new tight end for the Patriots.
Yeah.
And Gronk will get over his surgeries, and he will be back. And we will see what happens. And I got to say right here and now, Bob, it's going to be even sweeter this year when the Patriots do what they do every year, win games, win the division, and all those Jet fans who like to chirp it up during the offseason and laugh now about things going bad for the Patriots. Yeah, they laugh now because during the season they'll be crying a river of tears
Yeah.
as their team stumbles and bumbles their way, led by Mr. Butt Fumble,
Yeah.
Mark Sanchez, doing a nice little video this week,
Oh,
dancing around his house with his pants down. That's your quarterback. Unbelievable. So we will stay tuned and watch what happens to Aaron Hernandez, but personally, he is out of my life forever, and I will move on and to root for the guys who are on the team and root for my team. And speaking of guys who are out of my life forever, Doc Rivers.
Yeah.
How could you do this to me? So much for breaking Red Auerbach's record.
Yeah.
So much for re-upping to a 3-year deal and bleeding Boston green. All of a sudden, he wants to go coach in L.A. The Clippers? Really, Doc? I mean, come on. What a joke. And Danny Ainge got in his, and there we see some nice Brooklyn Net cheerleaders. And there is a rumor that on draft night tonight, a trade could go down. I do not believe this rumor, but they are pursuing Kevin Garnett. They are pursuing Paul Pierce. And they are trying to get him on a draft night blockbuster deal
For...
for nobody.
Yeah.
A bag of beans. I don't know. Or maybe those cheerleaders.
Yeah, maybe
They'll send those cheerleaders our way. I don't know. But Danny Ainge, you could read between the lines. He did not want to bury Doc Rivers at his press conference.
Right.
And Doc Rivers, this was the frustrating thing about this past week and a half. There's been nothing coming from Boston. Doc Rivers didn't open his mouth once since their season ended. Amazingly enough, a month and a half ago, Bob,
Yeah.
considering that the NBA Finals just finished a few days ago.
I know.
That's how long the playoffs are. But no words came from Doc all this time. And, now he's gone. He's headed to LA. Are we running out of time, Bob? Have I gone?
We're
on?
at 5 minutes. So
we still got time. We got
so-
time to get to a few things.
Oh, three and a half now.
All right. Well, let's. Maybe we'll get more into Doc later, and we'll find out what these trades are. Let's mention quickly Wimbledon's going on. It's been a strange week.
Right.
A lot of slips and a lot of upsets. It started on day one. Rafael Nadal, for the first time ever in a major, out in round one. He's gone. In round two, Roger Federer follows him out, and Maria Sharapova who began Wimbledon with a war of words against Serena Williams, and Serena just can't stop opening her mouth. It's a wonder nobody likes her. That's a whole story for another day. But Sharapova goes down after she slipped 3 times in that match. The court has been an issue. A lot of players slipping, a lot of walkovers, retirements during the tournament, the most ever early in the match in the Wimbledon. So we'll see what week 2 has to bring there. Baseball, a little controversy, more controversy, this time coming out of the Bronx.
Yeah, from
A-Rod with the tweet, doctors have cleared me to play. They weren't the Yankee doctors.
No.
It was news to Cashman.
Yeah.
And when they told Cashman dropped the F-bomb. Have you ever heard a general manager tell a player to shut the bleep up? I have never heard this before.
No.
He said, when the Yankees want to announce something, we will announce something. In the meantime, A-Rod should shut the bleep up.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Now A-Rod comes back and says, my body isn't up to coming back and doing a rehab assignment. A-Rod is just unbelievable.
And now Teixeira is down again.
Teixeira done for the year, second surgery. He is out. Youkilis, of course, with the back problem, he is out most likely for the year. We do not know when Jeter will come back. He's been working out, but not at full speed yet. So he's late July at the earliest from the interview I heard with Cashman. Granderson, maybe right after the All-Star break, possibly he will come back. They lost today 2-0 in a unbelievably rocking chair game for the Rangers. 2-0.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. The complete game shutout for the Rangers pitcher who threw less than 90 pitches. He was at the 70 pitch mark going into the 8th inning. Unbelievable. So they lose.
Yeah.
They fall 4 back of the first place Boston Red Sox, who got a mini sweep 2 games against the Colorado Rockies. And your Mets actually probably underway right now with that makeup game, remember, from all the snow early in the year. They're sneaking in a 1-game series for the Rockies, who had to fly from Boston back to Colorado to get this game in with the Mets. Your Mets news this week, mishandling of Zach Wheeler. Why, Bob? Why?
I don't know
When
why.
they got something good going last week, I was all excited with the doubleheader sweep with the Braves. It was Harvey, it was Wheeler, both looked good. They followed that up by sending Wheeler back to the minors because of, whatever position, roster moves, and all that stuff. So he wasn't with the team getting his usual work, which he should have been. They bring him back up for this game against the White Sox, and he's tipping his pitches. And after the game, the Mets say, we knew he was tipping his pitches. We knew he was doing it last week, but we did not want to distract him during the game by letting him know he was tipping his pitches. So he loses. Because he's tipping his pitches, and the White Sox knew it was coming. Bob, why? Your Mets, tell me, please.
We're
all right, we're running out of time. Westerners let one get away last night. They fall to 6-6. They're on the road tonight, back home tomorrow and Saturday. Head to Rogers Park. Keep your channel station locked right here. Westerners Roundup coming up. We'll see what's going on with the Westerners. But yes, go down to Rogers Park this weekend. Beat the heat. Hopefully it cools off a little bit. And we will see you in a couple weeks because next week is July 4th. Happy Independence Day to everybody. We'll be back in a couple weeks. See you then.